Yo.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, we're not live yet, right?
No, but I mean, no, I haven't. Well, technically we're live, but nothing. I haven't set
Uh,
out a link or anything. So
wait, so like can I join from my computer somewhat? Like is there a code to do that? Or I'll just join here. I can't have fun with
why am
with
you
screen.
could yeah. Wait, do you have a Mac?
No, it's fine. This is good. Let me go. Let me stay.
No, 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 no.
Like
Why don't no? Why is there double talk? Why am I hearing myself like a second later?
it's probably because I'm on my iPad, my iPods.
Here, I'll just email it to you. I'll email you the link.
Okay, bye.
All right, is that better?
Yeah, there we go.
There you go. All right, all right. How's the bar?
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay, nice.
for sure, for sure. There you go. There you go. All right, man. Well, hold on. Give me a second. Let me hit the button. All right. Well, we'll start. We'll get it going. We'll get it going. So, week one. Welcome. Here we go. Podcast with the one and only, the farmer himself, Paul the Ass Man Bielingmeyer. You know, you can look off to the side of the screen because nobody can see what you're looking at. I just
I'm
assume
looking at
it's
you. You're right next
Sammy.
to me.
All right. There you go. There you go. I guess it's flipped around on my end. All right. How you doing, man?
Good. Pretty well. Just busy day. Had a little work happy hour. Imagine that, going back in person for things. But yeah, doing a little 2-day training with some people here locally, and yeah, lots going on.
Good deal. Good deal. It's exciting. Yeah, getting back out there, hitting the bars. We know that the bars are a hot spot for COVID, so hopefully it doesn't jump up and bite you this time.
I've been traveling a lot, but I've been testing, and I'm pretty good. I haven't had my triple booster, but if I was able to, I would get it.
I don't even know how many boosters there are these days. I try to, just keep my head down, keep it going. So, anyway, oh man. So fantasy football. I know you took umbrage with the draft grade. So this is your chance, your airing of the grievances. I'll give you the floor before we jump into the full week one rundown.
Okay, I appreciate that. I was not ready for this, but I have a lot to say. So I said this over the text, and I actually like the fact that LaMagna agreed with it. I think it was LaMagna, but you graded the draft and relative to our picks and our position. And I thought, given my positioning, what I was doing was I nosed the down year. I went all in last year, and I did a really good job of going for people who maybe they're not going to get me the points I need this year, but they're going to be their potential lottery tickets, and or someone who I think could be trade bait later on. And I think that, as you'll see, as based on some trades that I'll be doing and I'll be executing soon, by the end of this year, you're going to be like, you know what, given what Paul had at the beginning of the year and where he ended the year, he put himself in a great position for 2023. And I would have loved to see that reflected in the analysis. But instead I got Neff, which I think is like, come on, you're losing all integrity.
First of all, it's not about integrity. Okay, this is fantasy football. It doesn't matter. The only integrity that matters is making sure that waivers are processed appropriately and there's no funny business going on with that. But I mean, look, I get your point. To me, it was, how do I put this? You're stockpiling a lot of rookies, and I get that that's not a bad strategy by any means. But just some of the players that you went after. I mean, a lot of Bills, multiple Bills running backs on the team that already doesn't really run the ball a lot or use the running backs a lot was a stretch. I like Olave. We'll see if he grows into something this season. Um, Jameson Williams obviously is a really good stash on IR. You probably could have got him a round or two later. But drafting guys like Kenneth Walker, in the 8th round, Kenneth Walker's still dealing with a hernia surgery he just had.
Yeah, listen,
he's not even
who cares
eligible.
about the surgery though? I'm not drafting him.
That impacts the ability.
I'm producing for him to produce for next year. So if I get people at a discount because they're hurt early, that works in my favor because I don't need them to score early for me.
Yeah, but you need them to produce this year, period, at least in some extent, to have value going forward. So I think that's the risk there, is that some of these guys simply may not produce enough this year to have that value. I think the one where you really hit, and probably is really my fault because it was a guy that I just kind of wanted to stay away from, I thought was overhyped, was Gabe Davis. I could have taken him in the 4th round, was eyeing it, just didn't want to buy into all the hype, the training camp hype of a guy who really only had a couple of big games in the playoffs last year. But that's probably a steal for you in the 5th round. So I get what you're saying, but part of this is to have fun. Part of this is to have some hot takes that stir the pot. I think that was accomplished. So I'm not upset about it. I know you might, take umbrage, but really it's just about, getting the banter going, and which it did. And then, no complaints. So let's sort of dive in. Week 1 here, football is back. Okay. We got the NFL, we got the witching hour, red zone, everything everybody's ever wanted all offseason is back. It was a fun week 1 to sit there and watch the games and everything happen. But I think for me, one of the highlights is, of course, Dak Prescott gets injured, and immediately Jerry Jones decides to just blast everybody with, oh yeah, he'll be back soon. Just disregards HIPAA, disregards privacy or strategy, and just says, yep, this is exactly what the medical situation is with our quarterback. It's nothing like Jerry Jones and a microphone. But whether it's fantasy or real football, fantasy is probably where you concern yourself the most about it. Any overreactions you want to make, week 1, like how bad a team looked, how good someone looked, what's your take?
Well, I don't want to say too much. It may influence some deals, but I think that it's interesting how everyone makes these projections like, oh, wow, Davante Adams now is going to play for the Raiders, so he's going to suck. And Courtland Sutton and Jerry – actually, I do agree with that one. I think Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy are going to be really big studs. Maybe that's the exception. But it's just interesting to see how people have these perceptions of how things are going to do purely because of what way people are changing teams. No one's going for Metcalf and whoever the other guy is, Tyler Lockett, but I do believe that they're going to end up getting numbers. So I'd like to applaud those buyers or people who didn't shy away from those kind of things. That's my big takeaway. I have Davante Adams in another league, and that he produced some numbers. I think that's it's important.
Yeah, I think it's easy. I mean, look, the big overreaction that I would take away from week 1 is that if you don't have one of these stud receivers, I mean, just what a difference that makes. Obviously Justin Jefferson and Kupp, Chase, Adams. I mean, the talent is really undeniable, and they all had monster games. But to me, it's like, let's pump the brakes, right? We know that everybody's going to have down weeks. We can't just all throw those teams to be the winners and to be the most successful when we just look at it on a fantasy perspective. But man, what a week to be a receiver. I mean, I'm just looking at the elite players from fantasy last week, and I'm not at the top 15 or probably top 20. I mean, it's a ton of receivers. I think it really speaks to the way the game is played and the way fantasy has to be played. If you're in a PPR league or a half point PPR like we are, if you have one of these stud receivers, it makes a huge difference. Now, you can have a stud receiver and still go out and keep a terrible one. We can talk about, what Wagner will have to deal with the Hunter Renfrow talk all year. But to me, that was the biggest thing to take away, was just every single top receiver went out and was exceptional. And that's not going to happen week to week. So it was pretty fun to watch, having not really having to play against it, but still fun to see. But let's look at week one, right? You started hot, you fizzled, you couldn't keep it up. And Wagner, man, he spanked you. What kind of happened? Were you excited when you were letting everybody know, pumping your chest out, hey, I'm on top of the league and scoring here after the 1 o'clock games? And then
I had no intention of actually winning that game. I know it was purely a function of I had my defense play first and it put up 20 points. And I was having fun with it. So I love how immediately after I posted it, I just shat the bed. But it was still exciting. And I think what's also worthwhile to look at is I think I was fifth, I think, overall scorer last week. It's just luck. I could have been paired up against any other sucker and I would have gotten the win. You know what I mean? And this is a team. Remember, I did not draft to win. I drafted to maximize my potential trading assets and keeper assets for this year. I was worried that you guys were going to figure that out when I called myself the Ass Farm, aka a farm team. That was my strategy.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, look, you're right. There were only 4 teams that outscored you, which is certainly impressive in just given the total talent when you look at your team. What's I think more interesting is Wagner essentially, between Mahomes, Barkley, and Adams, who all played in the late window of games, they essentially scored as many points as you had going into, I think at the point at which surprise. You
other than
posted
Saquon,
about that.
No surprise.
Yeah, no. So I know that's another thing. Saquon looked really, really good. So that could be dangerous for the rest of us, for sure. Just to touch on all these, let's touch on Wagner. I mean, to me, and this is why I think he'll win it all, because if McCaffrey and Barkley are healthy all year long, he has the best team. Nobody can touch him. We can make fun of Njoku and the tight end position all we want, but if he has McCaffrey, Barkley, Mahomes, Adams, and AJ Brown, it doesn't really matter what else he has. He's going to be in every single matchup. So it's scary how good his team is, and that's our fault for letting him have essentially 3 first-round picks plus Mahomes as a keeper. So we all have to pay the price on that one. So
yeah, but I think it was kind of odd for him. Why is he flexing a running back? Come on, Wagner. You have the luxury of throwing in a wide receiver there for the boom bust play to really. There's I don't know why he's playing too conservative, but that's one opinion.
Well, you're not wrong. I mean, look, if Christian Watson catches that 75-yard touchdown throw from Rodgers, the very first play for the Packers, of the game against the Vikings, Watson goes off. Would have gone off for about 20 points. It would be really a missed opportunity for Wagner. Not that he needed it, but you're right. You got to roll the dice. I think he should be mandated to play either both Raider receivers or both Eagle receivers every week. I think if you're going to have 2 receivers on your team from 2 different teams, right? You're going to have 2 pairs of receivers. You should have to play at least 1 pair every week. I think that should be his punishment, and he should have to do that. And frankly, he'd probably still win most weeks. But it's certainly raises some questions why you would have played David Montgomery in that mud bowl out in Chicago. That was difficult. Just to we'll touch on my matchup next. Get it out of the way, right? Jacobs put up a real fight. I don't think he expected to be close. He stormed out to a really nice, healthy lead. And then Mike Evans saved the day with a nice little touchdown there. Sunday Night Football gave me the win. Eke it out. Doesn't matter how close the margin is. So I appreciated that from Mike Evans. But, we'll see. We'll see if Jacobs' team, turns it around, and if he picks up some more talent. We know he's usually pretty active there in the trade market. Let's see any other week 1 matchups to touch on. Ooh, this one, Tate's. I don't know if you dove into this, but Tate's really struggled. Akers with a big goose egg. Allen Robinson effectively did nothing. CeeDee Lamb did nothing, especially once Dak got hurt. Kyle Pitts was an utter bust week 1. Oh man, it's really rough for Tate. even though he left a ton of points on the bench between Michael Thomas, James Robinson, Cordell Patterson. Just the way his starting lineup, oh my God, brutal, absolutely brutal.
I shouldn't say this, but I think that the move of him benching Akers for Patterson, I don't think it's a good move. I think he's thinking, oh, wow, Patterson's so good now because he went off for week 1. Akers will be back. He'll be fine.
Yeah, Akers had some quotes today after practice where he says he feels great, just going to keep grinding, wait for his opportunity. It's just interesting to me that he got nothing, no opportunity. The analytics favor Henderson for the most part when you break down historically how they both have done. When they've had similar opportunities and played together, but it's just interesting to me with Tates. I get you not going to start Michael Thomas. I can understand not starting Cordell Patterson a little bit. I would have thought James Robinson, either Patterson or Robinson would have made his starting lineup. Not that it would have made a difference, but it's just a brutal way to start when you just leave that many points on the bench and just get thoroughly whooped. The resident champion, not that he's really the champion, but Joe and Bodson faced off. Bodson wanted me to relay on the podcast that he blames me for not starting AJ Dillon because in the draft grades write-up, I chastised him for drafting Aaron Jones's handcuff in the 3rd round. So because of that, he didn't start AJ Dillon. Of course, AJ Dillon had a huge game, and had he flexed AJ Dillon, he would have won the matchup. So, Bodson wanted everyone to know that he blames me. I don't think that it's my fault. I didn't control his roster, his lineup decisions. But you know what, Bodson? Do your homework, man. Not everything I say in the draft grades is meant to be, straightforward or honest. Sometimes I'm trying to, poke a little bit, yank a chain, see what kind of rise I can get out of someone, even if I don't agree with what I'm putting out there. Because personally, AJ Dillon, I think, is a flex play every week. But so be it. That's how it goes.
It's not a flex play I want to play. That's why I didn't draft. So I'm not playing Khalil Herbert. So
I wouldn't play Khalil Herbert either. I don't think flex play or not. You keep getting smaller. What's going on here?
I'm doing it on purpose. I think it's funny.
Okay. Eventually you'll be like this big. All right. Well, all right. You have to start talking like mini me if that's the case.
Okay.
So, all right. Do we think it's worth touching on Manning and Evans matchup, or we just move on? Get through the other 2 matchups. What do you think? You think it's worth making fun of Evan for the fact that Rodgers couldn't even put up 4 points?
Yeah, I'll give it a brief hot take. Rodgers will be back. That's my hot take.
Oh, I don't know. He can't get any worse than he was last week, but I don't know about back. And then we'll just, to touch on the other one, Drew and LaMagna faced off, and essentially, I don't really know. This was pretty sad when you look up and down what their box score is for LaMagna, other than having Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill and Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's going to be a rough year for sure, but he's building for the future. We know that for sure. So turning the page, that's week one in the books. Okay. Not a lot of surprises, not a lot of shocks in the results, but looking at waivers, I don't know how closely you paid attention to the waivers, but we had some big spenders. LaMagna spent $41 on Taysom Hill. It's hard to find the right words to comment on that. So I'll let you take it.
It's not a bad – listen, waivers are waivers, and people have different strategies. I'll be honest. Again, I'm just going to put it all out there. Who the fuck cares? Take my advice or not. If you look back historically, when you get the best payday, the best return for your dollar when it comes to waivers, it's the first 4 weeks. It's claiming Jefferson 2 years ago as a keeper. So I'm a big advocate of spending big early. You got to take that risk, okay? Unless you're trying to stream defenses and have a couple dollars to be on top of people or whatever. Okay, I get that. But or maybe you really want to make sure you get your handcuff from some guy who gets hurt. Anyway, I did not know that he was a tight end. I don't remember. I don't know if that just recently changed. I don't know. But when you have a guy like that, like a Swiss Army knife at the tight end position, who has the ability to put up numbers, RB numbers or QB numbers here or there in a position that's kind of thin, I think it's a good move. So I don't know who else he has from a tight end perspective. Also, he's not competing this year. So if he's doing it just to either keep him, that's not a good move. But if someone wants to trade for him, I don't know. They could have spent $41 themselves. But I like the pickup.
Yeah. Well, the live chat, this is why we do these things live, because some of us are sleep deprived and aren't paying too close of attention. But actually, it was Wagner who spent $41 on Taysom Hill, which I guess you have to do when you draft David Njoku at tight end. So it looks even worse for Wagner. You waste an early draft pick on Njoku, who's terrible, and spend all that money on waivers on Taysom Hill. So I don't even know. I mean, it really just boggles my mind. But it wasn't the only strange decision, because we had Bodson go and spend $36 on Carson Wentz. Now, what's interesting about Bodson's team right now is he is holding 4 quarterbacks: Carson Wentz, Ryan Tannehill, Marcus Mariota, and Daniel Jones. I have 1 quarterback on my team. I don't think I'd want any one of those quarterbacks other than to try to stream them in like a bye week situation. Because once the weather changes from 73 degrees, Carson Wentz is terrible. I don't know if you saw the statistic. Carson Wentz is the all-time NFL leading passer when a game is played at 73 degrees. So it was 73 degrees week 1. He went off. Great. I'm not spending $36 on a quarterback that I can't rely on and isn't good in the clutch. So another head scratcher, but you know what? Bodson's won the league before. We can't fault him too much for spending that kind of money. It's just one of those weird little week 1 things. Anyway, that one really jumped off the page at me. And there's a couple other weird waivers. I don't know, let's see. People spending a fair amount of money on defense is okay. It's whatever. It's week 1. Most importantly, not so much a waiver play, but our latest transaction in the league was Manny picking up Greg Dortch. Paul, here's my question to you. Do you know who Greg Dortch is?
No, I don't.
Do you know what team he plays for?
The the Texans?
Nope. He plays for Arizona. Do you know what position he plays?
Kicker?
No, that'd be good. He plays receiver. He's 5'7". Okay, 175 pounds, soaking wet. Let me ask you this, right? You know Manny well. Who is giving Manny this information to pick random guys? Amari Rogers, Greg Dortch, Brandon Oliver of years past. I mean, what is happening? Where does Manny get his information that he picks the most random players to add to his team? I just don't get it. I don't understand. A quick ESPN search
I have for it is he doesn't know football, but like he does. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I think he used to play back when he was little. Like I don't know football. It's taken me 10 years to like kind of understand football. And that might be something I would have done years ago, like going for a novelty play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, Manny's a smart guy. I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. When I can get Manny on the pod, I'll have to ask him who is feeding him these names. Greg Dortch, I'm sure there wasn't a sticker with his name on it at the draft. I'll put it that way. So, but all right. So that's waivers. We should have seen what's going on. Now let's again turn the page. Week 2. Here we go. Big picture. What are your thoughts here? You're going up against Tate's. Tate's had a terrible week 1. Can't get any worse, you would think, for Tate's. What's your play? You think you got a chance this week?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm just trying to play spoiler. I'm trying to have some fun. I like I've mentioned before, I think I'm a little questionable about some of his decisions that he's making right now. Like you draft a guy, Allen Robinson, in the 3rd round, and you're just not going to play him. I don't know. I mean, Michael Thomas, oh, wow, he had a catch. I guess he is good. I'm going to now just go with him. And he thinks that was like his pick that he's going to pay off. I don't know. It's just interesting. I don't know if he's going to be carrying that much this weekend. I know he's going to be busy at a wedding in Kansas City. And he's going to be more concerned about enjoying himself and trying not to be hungover. And fun fact, my mom is going to be babysitting for Sabrina and Tate's. So imagine that.
So, well, babysitting in Kansas City or babysitting in New York?
Babysitting in Kansas City.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Who would have thought?
There you go, Rhonda.
Who would have thought?
Right. I know. So is Rhonda traveling around the country just offering up babysitting services?
Well, no, so she lives now. She was in Ohio. Now she lives there because my sister's out there. So she's kind of like the house babysitter. But if you would have told me 5 years ago that there'd be a time where my mom, but my sister moved back there. So before my sister moved back there, if you would have told me 5 years ago that Rhonda Biedlingmeyer will be babysitting Eric Tates' daughter in Kansas City, I would have been like, no way. The odds of that, whatever. You calculate them, and I'll take the other side of the bet and lose a bunch of money.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know like what Tates is thinking here. I get it. He's basically trying to look at what happened last week and catch lightning in a bottle twice. No. Do I think Michael Thomas repeats and has multiple touchdown catches against the Bucs this week? No. Do I think Cooper Rush is going to help CeeDee Lamb deliver this week?
No. CeeDee Lamb.
Is Cordell Patterson going to get a lot of rushing yards against the Rams? No. Probably some catches, so maybe there's an upside play. I feel a little more confident with Darrell Henderson after what we saw in week 1, frankly. Even James Robinson, the way that he was, really split touches with Etienne and looked really good and healthy. But, look, it's Tate's team, Tate's call. He's got a lot of Rams on his team, kind of like you've got a lot of Bills. So you guys really end up with, what's Tate's got, like 4 Rams? I mean, they're not going to play any of them, it looks like. So that's an interesting decision. Maybe Tate's is going to the game in Kansas City tomorrow. I don't know. So maybe that's why, he doesn't want to start Josh Palmer. It's just interesting decisions all around. And for you, look,
hey, he's going to beat me with Lamar, but luckily I have Bateman on my team. So that might be my head. That's my play right now.
Yeah, I don't know. Man, see, that was your first draft pick. I don't know. I get, Bateman has a lot of talent. It's just hard for me to see it the way that Baltimore plays. They just don't feature like a true number 1 outside of Andrews. And so like as a receiver there, it's just difficult to have consistency or reliability in someone, but you never know, right? Frankly, especially for you, if T. Higgins is out with a concussion and doesn't play, Tyler Boyd's probably a sneaky good play, I would think. But yeah, it should be interesting. You never know. You could definitely win this week between, Gabe Davis and Drake London. There's definitely big potential there for you to have, a couple of guys pop off. So, I'll leave it at that. Surveying around, we're looking at some of these other matchups. Watson with a solid squad really needs to beat Evan. He needs to get to 2-0. Just he can't afford to drop to 0-2. It'd be much harder for him to make the playoffs, to put it that way. And Evan's got, if Aaron Rodgers is decent against the Bears, Evan's got a decent chance to pull the upset here between, Gibson, Mixon, some players who will be in shootouts that'll score a lot of points. Bodzen's really relying on guys like Dalvin Cook and Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. He's going to start both Packers running backs this week, it looks like. So, we'll see if that delivers. We've kind of got an interesting matchup here. Rodgers on one side, the Packers running backs on the other. Should be a fun little matchup there. Let's see. For our live chat, folks, LaMagna and Drew, well, not LaMagna and Drew, but LaMagna and Jacobs will go at it. So maybe they're both still watching. But, I mean, I don't know. Both of these teams leave some things to be desired on the overall talent base, but could be fun. You never know. Herbert should go off tomorrow night. Should really help Jacobs against LaMagna. But when Kupp, Tyreek Hill, LaMagna's going to put up points. So should be a fun little one. Myself, against Drew could be a sneaky good matchup. You never know. Manny, I'm sure, gets destroyed by Joe. Not even going to spend too much time thinking about it. And then Wagner. I mean, Wagner plays Kirshner, two solid teams. But again, as we've talked about earlier, Wagner's team is so loaded that it's hard for me to see him losing outside of injuries or massive bye week attrition because, I mean, it really is just significantly more talented than pretty much all the other rosters, at least at the top end. At least at the top end. So, that's how I would put things looking ahead to this week. Your thoughts outside of your matchup. You got any things you're looking for or excited to watch happen?
Let's see. I am interested to take a bet with you, Lowell. I know this isn't exactly what you're asking. You're asking about next week, but I'm thinking more the next couple weeks.
You can make a bet.
Over under. Like what week? When are we making the first trade that involves a draft pick? I think I'll say that just so there's no like stupid little dumb swap of someone. But I don't want to know when the first.
Oh, you mean like something stupid, you mean something stupid like a 5-team trade swap of 16th round picks?
I want to know when someone decides to dip into their 2023 draft pick stash and go for a player. I want to know from you maybe what's your over under, what week do you think that happens?
I think it's really hard to do that before you get through probably the first month. And I say that because if you're doing that kind of trade before the first 4 or 5 weeks, there have to be at least 2 things at play. One, you have to be fully committed to all in and probably have stacked a bunch of wins yourself and feel like you're one piece away. And conversely, the person you're making that trade with, they have to be fully committed to next season, right? I don't think most people before at least 4 or 5 weeks in are particularly ready to shift focus. Even the teams like yourself or LaMagna or maybe Evan that maybe don't really have enough talent to probably challenge for maybe even a playoff spot. It's really early to cut and run in September, right? Like you want to at least see. You never know. It's fantasy football. You can get lucky, stack a couple wins. All of a sudden, it looks different. So I really think it's hard until you get 4 or 5 weeks. So I would put the over under on something like that at probably like week 5.
Okay.
Because I just don't see it. Obviously, things can happen. I think there are teams or players that people probably would like to do that for, but that's a big ask to have somebody give up on an elite talent player like 2 or 3 weeks into the season. That's how I see it. So, do you feel differently?
No, I mean the reason I brought it up is because basically what I'm looking for next week is I just want to see my guys shine. I want to see these lottery tickets hit it. I want to see more people drop their rookies, drop their sophomores in order to go after some, dumb, stupid, other person. I'm just going to snatch them up, and I'm just waiting to see when I'll be able to then strike and turn them into some draft picks. So that's all.
Yeah,
Drake London,
definitely.
baby. Hey, Drake London, if you watch that game, he was getting just targets.
Yeah.
He's good.
Yeah, for sure.
He can be yours. Come get him now before anyone else can get him.
Yeah, this is a free PSA from Paul. Look, it's definitely a smart move, to load up on those rookies. It's definitely something that as the draft was unfolding, it seemed like I was constantly half around or around, late, too late to do that. I was trying to build, more reliable depth for my team and just the way my picks, went down. But yeah, I think for you, it makes sense to load up on, 4 or 5 rookies. You only need 1 or 2 to hit to really feel like it was a successful
and also,
strategy.
I reached and got the Bills early, and that obviously is shown already to pay off. So another great asset for someone this year who wants to win. I'm open.
Yeah, we'll see, right? Like it's hard to make judgments on 1 week. Like Olave is a great example of a guy who's got a ton of talent, but if Michael Thomas and Landry are both healthy, maybe he doesn't have a big role in New Orleans, but he's uber talented player. Similarly, if Rashad Penny's healthy, it limits Kenneth Walker's ability. But if Kenneth Walker is the guy there for even a couple of weeks' time, he's an elite, had potential to be a huge performer. So it's smart to take those lottery tickets, and we'll have to wait and see. In terms of the Bills, I mean, they're just going to be unstoppable most of the season. They're very, very talented. If they're clicking like this already and they keep that going, it's going to be tough to beat them. But I don't know that all the Bills you have are useful or attractive fantasy assets. Maybe
We
the
don't need
Bills
to go too much longer about it, but I will address the point. I did want to have some semblance of not a complete tanking team, and me drafting a rookie with my 4th, 5th, 6th pick is dumb because they're not going to have keeper value. So I was waiting until I kind of round 7, 8, 9 to like snatch the future. So what did I do with those mid-tier picks? Well, I wanted to pick people who were worth the value around that round. And yes, I know I picked Singletary, or did I have Singletary, right, in this league?
Yeah, you have Don't worry, you have Singletary. Okay. Yep.
So the reason I did that is because, you have Moss and Singletary. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. So it's kind of a lottery ticket of sorts, hoping that the guy I pick is going to be that guy, right? And that's kind of, and then I took Mostert because I don't really know what's going on in Florida, but he could be that guy. And so in a sense, like that's why I picked those guys. And then it's the way the draft naturally snaked through is just by a function like, hey, they happen to be 3 Bills players that I took plus the defense. So that's why I picked them. I didn't mean to pick them that way. And again, it was just kind of me trying to maximize my draft positioning, which is why I'm just still butthurt about my grade.
Well, I don't know how to help you about your grade. We can look back at the end of the season and review the teams and give, season-long grades, and maybe you'll get a higher score, right? Again, part of that is just to have a little bit of fun. Look, I get to create the grades. They're at your expense. I'm trying to have a little bit of fun with it, but I understand where you're coming from. I think you had a solid strategy. I don't know if we look back at the end of the year what that value is really going to be like for some of those young guys, and that's kind of, it's a very much a boomer bust type, move you went with, and I hope it pays out for you, but I don't know that it will. So we'll leave it at that. I appreciate, mini me coming on. I think as the chat is explaining, Guy Fieri over here to my to my side. I don't even want to know how you're manipulating this. Please keep Lon Paul forever. I think that's wow. All right. Well, we'll leave it at that, folks. Enjoy week 2. We'll be back next week, and look into Paul's eyes. You'll see all sorts of